It's important to understand your role as a data manager in this program. We know that, for instance, data manager titles and overall responsibilities, those are going to differ from district to district. And they include district test coordinators, EMIS coordinators, building administrators, and many others. So we know that there are varied things that you do as a data administrator. We'd like to define the role of data manager in the context of the KReady system and specifically in this program. And the way we look at it is this. For this program, a data manager is the individual that has access to teacher and student demographic information in the KReady system for the KReady assessments. Data managers are responsible for adding and managing teachers, students, and enrollment data in the system, as well as exporting teacher-collected student scores and ratings for EMIS or EAS reporting. So it's really important to understand that that's your role, that's your function as a data manager in this ELA assessment. As it relates to OEDs, you must be identified as an assessment data manager preschool and kindergarten in OEDs prior to having access to the KReady system as a data manager. You can visit the OEDs page on the Ohio Department of Education site for information regarding how to be added as an assessment data manager, preschool and kindergarten for your location. So if you do not have that access at this time, you can obtain that if you go to the website. There's information and instructions on how to do that. Once you are set up as an assessment manager, preschool and kindergarten in OEDs, you will need to reach out to the help desk to have your account set up. You will receive an email once the account is ready. You'll need to be sure to watch for that email because it is time sensitive. The link to the email is set to a password and that will expire in 24 hours. If that happens, don't worry about it. You can also just reach out to the help desk and we can assist you with that. Be sure to check your spam folders if no message is received in the appropriate time frame. You can also, again, contact us for assistance with the process. So if you need help, by all means, reach out. For programs licensed by the Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services who are not established in the Ohio Department of Education's directory system, the data manager can be assigned to any administrator listed in the Ohio Child Licensing and Quality System, or OCLQS. So if you're listed as an administrator in that system, you can also be a data manager for this program as well. There are three primary ways that we add data to the KReady system. First way here mentioned is manually. So you can literally enter a student or a few students at a time this way. And this is typically done, again, to enter low numbers of students, and you do so one at a time. The second way to enter information is through the bulk loader. And that allows you to enter, obviously, more than one student at a time. So this would be used to enter whole classes or the entire school, multiple classes at a time. So it's a very convenient way of adding a lot of information into the system. Another way that this information can be added is through an automated process. And there are two different ways that we can do this. We have something called a file watcher or a secure file transfer protocol, or SFTP. So let's take a look at the data templates. The way the system works is it uses CSV files that contain fields of information that you're going to load into the system that allows the system to essentially track or collect information. There are templates that the system uses for the types of data that needs to be added. You can find information about those at the Data Guidelines website. The link is listed there at the top of the screen. And there you'll find information not just on those templates, but on how those templates can be used. The information that's required for the system for administrating the assessment in the system is listed here to the left. You have teacher templates, and that's used to create those teacher accounts. You have student templates, obviously, that's used to create the student account. You also have enrollments, and that's used to link the teacher and student accounts together. So this allows then for teachers to view their students, to actually see their students in the system and enter data for those students. The other templates are optional and they are used as needed. So for instance, the location administrator template is used to create, again, administrator accounts. I want to put a pin here and say, even though this is optional, it is highly suggested and recommended. And we're actually asking all data managers to go ahead and add those location administrators now. So as soon as possible, once the window opens, we're asking you to go in and just add your building administrators to the system so that they have access if they should choose to be able to view and download the data as well. And then the other template here is the unenrollments template, and that's used again to unlink those teacher and student accounts if there's a teacher that leaves the system or a student that transfers out of your location. This is kind of a snapshot of some of the templates, and we'll look at the kind of the structure of how the template is laid out. As you can see here in the teacher template, it lists the district ID, the IRN number that we use here in Ohio. So that 6-digit IRN number with the leading 0. Next is the teacher ID and then the school ID. That ID is your building IRN number. Then the email for the teacher and the first and last name. That's the information that's needed for the teacher template. Next is the student template, and this is for the early learning assessment. And here you see again the district ID, you see the student number, the state student number, and the school ID again. And then you see the student's first and last name and date of birth. Now we're going to also encourage you to use the all fields template, but here you see the basic fields that are needed in order to enter student information into the system. Next, we have the enrollments template. And again, I mentioned that allows you to link the teacher and student together. So one of the things we want to point out, and you see it circled and highlighted in yellow, is the data collection. This is the actual data collection for the spring of 22. 3 ELA spring 22. That's the data collection token that we will use for this window, and that needs to be entered in column A for each enrollment. Again, you see the district ID, student ID, school ID, student first and last name, date of birth, and the teacher's information there as well, teacher ID, first and last name. So it's all that information linked together. And the order that I presented this to you is the order that information should be entered into the system. You can't, for instance, use an enrollment template if there's nothing to link. So you need to have your teachers loaded, then your students loaded, and then you can link your students and teachers together with the enrollment template. And then again here, we talked about the data collection. The spring administration window opens on the 15th, and it's going to end on May 14th. And the token that we're using for the spring window is listed there. It's 3 ELA Spring 22. Next, we have the location administrator template. And I mentioned that, again, we're encouraging all data managers to load their building principals so that they have access. And it's simply just adding the district ID, the school ID, and that principal email. Again, I mentioned something about leading zeros and formatting. It's important to follow these instructions as it relates to using the templates. Number one, please do not remove any of the headers or change any of the headers in the templates. The system uses this to read the file, and it's important that those not be changed. Next, formatting of leading zeros, and then again we'll walk through exactly how you do that. We actually have a video and some help files on the help desk support site that can walk you through that if you've never done that. But you'll need to format the cells with leading zeros, and the main cells are again the district ID and the school ID. Next is the date of birth, and that needs to be formatted with 2 digits for the month, 2 digits for the day, and 4 digits for the year of birth. Each field needs to be separated by a comma. So when you go into doing this, if you're using, for instance, Excel, you'll need to make sure you save this file as a CSV and not an Excel file. You need to also take a look at the data guidelines, which provides, again, some steps and instructions for formatting and some tips related to that as well. Next, for instance, if you have a teacher that may have a name change, need to be able to go in and update those records. You'll need to do so manually. Likewise, with student information, when loading students, be sure to use the correct student ID to ensure that you're able to link the teacher and that student.
So I'm going to go over loading data manually, adding teacher, student enrollments, and also unenrolling a student manually. So first, we're going to go ahead and go into our account here. So what we're going to do first is I want to show you how to update a user information. So as mentioned, we stated that you want to update if a name change or if there was an email change. So for example, I am going to select one of our sample teachers here, and we're going to select open. And so let's say the name here changed from sample to sample 6. What we'll do is we'll do this manually. We're going to hit save. And you want to make sure that you update, again, all of this done first manually, whether it was an email change, a name change, before you go and do a bulk loader of the information, whether it's student, whether it's teacher. You want to make sure that that is updated first manually, because when you do a bulk load teacher file, and let's say you change the name from sample to sample 6, what it's going to do is create a brand new user. So you don't want that. So next, we're going to go ahead and add a teacher manually. We're going to go and select add user. And we are going to do, we're just going to stick with the teacher, and we're going to go with 8 and last name of sample. Your initial location, you'll have your locations. We're going to go with the ELA test. Make sure to select the role too, because a lot of times that is possibly missed when you're adding them manually, and the teacher will not see any professional development, not see anything. So you want to make sure you update and check that role. You want to go ahead and put in the email address. For your password, you can set a generic one that'll at least allow them to get in. Just write it down. For this, I want to show you a little more. So you can hit save, you can hit save open. If you hit save open, open up that teacher a little more. And let's say I want to add, I initially added them to just that ELA location. Let's say I wanted to add them to one of our other locations. From here, you can go ahead and click add, and then add that teacher to multiple locations if you wanted to. You can also do that through the bulk loader. All right, so the next thing I want to show is where to find the current data collections. A lot of data managers, I know, are unsure what the data collections are and where to find them. So if you go right above users and select data collections, here you're going to see currently you'll have the kindergarten, the winter, and the fall, and you see those listed here. I know the spring's coming up, but it's not up for a couple until February 15th, so you're not going to see that yet. When that does open, you will be able to see that in your data collections. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a student manually. So on the left-hand side, you'll want to go to your organizations, select view districts, view locations, and then we're going to select view students. Here you're going to see a green add student button. Go ahead and select that. You're going to put in their state student ID, which I have done one for a student I've made up here. So, and remember, it's 2 letters and it's going to be 7 digits. So it's for this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. Type in their first name. You can put in a middle name if that is optional, but you do need at least first name and you need last name. You need the gender. You can put unknown, you can put male, female. Then you have your race. So you can put in your races here. Now we're going to go ahead and just hit the African American here. We're going to go ahead and put in a birth date of 02. Make sure it's in this format, 01. And then 2018. Now here you can put in a disability code if applicable. Now this code again can be found in your EMIS manual, depending on which code for which student. You can then choose whether they are an English language learner, yes or no. If the student does have a disability code, again, you want to make sure you want to click yes to special education, IEP, or IFSP. And then you can click the low economic status here of yes or no. Once that is done, you want to go ahead and hit save and open. Now you'll see this opens the student up a little further. So now at this point, we want to go ahead and click on the data collection assignment, because even though we've added the student, we still need to connect them to the assessment. So you'll do that by hitting the data collection assignment. As you can see, nothing is selected at this point. And I do want to point out 99.9% of the time, basically, when a teacher comes and says, I can't see a student, but you as a data manager can see, it's due to this data collection assignment not being attached. Because even though you add the student or the teacher to the student through the enrollments by adding them, you have to do that one extra step by adding that data collection assignment. So we're going to go ahead and assign the winner token. Granted, that's the one that's open currently. So when the February 15th, when the spring window opens, you will see that listed here, and you will be able to assign and then hit finished. The next you want to do, like I said, is you want to do that enrollments tab, and this is where you assign the teacher. Click the assign teacher button, and we are going to go ahead and put this student to teacher 8, the one that we just created. We're going to go ahead and click assign and hit finish, and you can see the countdown. Okay, so once that is done, you're then just kind of go back, review, make sure, all right, my data collection's there, they are connected to my teacher, and you're going to see the point of authority is with your school. So to unenroll a student from your school, from your teacher, what you want to do is just, let's pull that student back up in your students, click open, select your enrollments, and then from here, all you're going to do is select remove. And this will give you another little prompt. Are you sure? Hit OK. It'll do a countdown. And as you can see, this teacher is no longer there. That's how you want to unenroll a student from a teacher manually. We are going to be using now the bulk loader, and we're going to add teachers and students in the enrollment file through the bulk loader. Well, I will also show you how to use the unenrollment feature and doing that through the bulk loader, as well as, well, we have actually already gone through accessing that data collection ID token. The left-hand side, we're going to select bulk loader. Now from here, you're going to want to select your templates. And as discussed earlier, there are 2 different templates. So we're going to first just select this teacher. And as you can see, you see in all fields, and you see a required fields. Now this is for all student and teacher and enrollment files. So for time purposes, I did do these files ahead of time, but all of my files today, I have selected all fields template. Okay, because I want to show you all of the different fields that you can put in and put more information in for those students that is recommended. So I am going to go to my teacher file. And as you can see, you got your district ID, your teacher ID, school ID, and then the email, first and last name. Now I created a new teacher for this particular session, for the spring session. If you have new teachers, even if you have existing teachers, we always do recommend uploading those teachers again every year, like just the beginning of the year. For this particular, from the fall to the spring, it's not necessary to re-upload your teacher file again for the spring. So as long as there's no changes, you don't need to do anything. But if there's changes, you do want to make sure you do those manually first, and then I would do it again through the bulk loader. Okay, so for here, we want to make sure we format columns. Now, A lot of IRNs start with 0. Mine here does not, but I want to show you how to do that because that leading 0 is going to fall off. So when you select your whole column here, you want to right click, go down to Format Cells, and you want to select Custom. I select that first 0. I put my cursor back up to that 0 so I have that flashing cursor. And then I type in an additional 5 zeros. So I have a total of 6. I hit OK. And you want to do that for column A, and you're going to want to do that for column C. Once that's done, make sure you save it somewhere you can easily find it. We're going to go back to the bulk loader. I like to go back to my uploads tab, so it just kind of shows when they're uploaded. We're going to select the green button, select our template type of teacher, and then we're going to select our file. All right, so we're going to go ahead and select. I know I saved it as that. I'm going to double click, attach it, and select upload. You'll get processing. You can hit F5 on your keyboard, or you can hit the circle arrow here. Oh, so now you see I do have some errors. That teacher did not get added. So you want to figure out what happened there. So you want to download those validation errors to dig a little deeper. And what it'll do is a teacher ID already exists within this district. So that will make you want to go back to your teacher and you want to make sure that everything is correct and everything is done manually first. Now to the student file. I want to show you those next. And now, again, you want to go back to your templates, select your drop down, go to students. And again, you have the all fields and the required fields. So for time purposes, again, I already did the all fields template for the student file. All right, so now you see a little more detail here. You see a district student ID, as opposed to what was shown earlier where it went from district to state student ID. So you're adding a little more information here. You're adding a race, you're adding a gender. So for data managers, you want to fill out columns A through J, and then you also need to fill out columns W through Z for these students. So you have W is the IEP, and this is either a Y or a yes for all 3 of these here. So this one is yes, so you just put a Y. The disability code, then you put in whether the low economic status is yes or no. And the last one is the English language learner, yes or no. So there are fields here, again, columns that you need to make sure are formatted. You're going to make sure you format column A, which for that leading 0, as we discussed earlier, when you go down to format cells, select custom, select that first 0, and then type in an additional 5. Hit OK. You're going to do that for column A, column C, or I'm sorry, column D. So the district ID and the school ID. And now we're going to do for the date of birth. So we're going to do the same thing, format cells, select custom. So I do select that first 0, but here's what I do. I just backspace. I just delete it, and then I type in MM/DD/YYYY. So you want to have for for February, for all those months, it's that 02. You need that leading 0. So you want to make sure it's formatted correctly there. And then the last column you format is going to be this disability code. Because there are disability codes that range from 1 to 16, you want to make sure it has that leading 0 as well. So we'll do the same thing here. Even though there is a 15, I just want to show you. So you would just go to that and type in an additional where it's 2. Hit OK. Once that's done, everything is formatted. Make sure you save it where you can easily find it. We'll go back to our bulk loader, select upload file. We're going to select the template type as student, select file, and then click upload. Again, it's processed. You can hit F5 or your circle at the top just to refresh it. And you can see now that we have complete and there was one addition and or one update. Okay. Now the last one I want to show you is the enrollments file. Go to templates and select your drop down to enrollments. And again, I did an all fields template for this one. So you'll want to go ahead. I'm just going to pull it up here. And this is the all fields for the enrollments. So you're going to put in your data collection. Again, this is going to be for this spring. Do your district ID. And again, it does have that district student ID. So that little more for the all fields. And then you will want to make sure you format column B, column E, and then column H. So we'll just do the column H here, and we're going to show you again how to do that date of birth, and then hit OK. So you see that's saved that specific way. All right, so now just hit save, and we're just going to minimize. We're going to go back, and we're going to upload file, select your file. And I will get to, I'm going to show you again one more thing here. Hit enrollments, enrollment temp or training, I'm sorry, and hit upload. I'm going to refresh. And there was an error. So again, we're going to go back and we're going to take a look, download those validation errors. And you're going to see that this user isn't eligible. So this is where you'd want to go back and to your teacher template and make sure that this teacher is added. So you'd go back to your teacher file, re-upload it, make sure all your teacher 8 is correct. And then from there, re-upload your enrollment file again. I just want to make sure you guys see a lot of times this error is more common than you think. So by doing just re-uploading that teacher file again, and then uploading your enrollment file again with the corrections, this will then eliminate this error. Okay, so the last one I want to show you here is the unenrollment that we discussed earlier. So if you go to upload file, what we're going to do is we're going to select enrollments. So as you were seeing earlier, this kind of gives you this a little more detail here. So where you can check the box where it says unenroll students by, and it would be by student. Now, this is a good use for a partial file upload. So for example, if you only load five students and you want to make sure their enrollments are clean and not attached to any previous teachers, you can do that and upload that enrollment file. So they are strictly then taken off of any other enrollments or attachments to any other teachers. So then you would select your file and upload. If you do it by unenroll by districts, now this is, again, same thing. It's going to wipe out any enrollments previous to any attachment to any other teachers. But this is, again, more for bigger districts, larger districts. And this is not going to remove any data attached to students. It's just going to remove any teacher association from those students to teacher, not the data. So just don't worry there if you just need to make sure that they're no longer attached to a teacher from the fall and you want to make sure it's a brand new teacher and you just want to make sure you can do it like that. I would suggest doing your enrollment file by doing it unenroll students by this, by district, by student, then going back and doing your enrollment file as regular. So it's a clean enrollment.
There are a couple of other ways that you can get data into the system, and these are typically used by larger districts. And so there are only a few, cases or scenarios where these processes are used, but it's important that you know about them in case you want to investigate them for potentially using them at your location. So one of those ways is through the file watcher, and another way is through SFTP. So let's talk about both of those. So with the file watcher, this is a desktop application for an automated process of uploading, and it is recommended for larger districts. This simplifies the process by automatically checking user-created folders. that contain the system templates that we just walked through. So all the different types of templates are just simply added to that folder. The file watcher goes in and checks that folder to see if there are any changes, and then it uploads those changes to the system automatically for you. That system is those transactions are then viewable on the bulk loader screen. The file watcher is available for PC, Linux Durbin, Linux RPM, or Linux Zip. And you can find those on the front of the main page when you're logging in. You can see what systems the file watcher is usable for. The other process for getting that information in is through SFTP, which again is Secure File Transfer Protocol. Or this is an integration with your system, with your student information system. So that SFTP is connected directly to your SIS and allows that data to be transferred into the KReady through your SIS system. If you need assistance with this, you can contact the help desk and we can assist getting set up for using those processes that I just described.
So this is the reports that you can pull as a data manager in the KReady system. So first one is the ELA SKB ratings report. And now this will show the teacher what scores, ratings have been entered for the students for all 72 SKBs. So now this is available, as you can see, it's during and after the window is open and closed. The other report I want to show that is also that you can see during and after is the data downloads. And so this report will show any data that is loaded for the current collection window. So this report is helpful to confirm and check any data that's loaded. So it's more of a managerial report. But I want to go live and show you how to pull both of these reports. So the SKB, we're going to go to reports on the left-hand side. You're going to select your drop down. And now this is a little easier where you can see specifically ELA reports, and then you have the other reports KRA. The first one we're going to show is the ELA, like I said, SKB ratings report. So you're going to log in and you're going to select your data collection. And as you can see, the filter by POA box is already checked. So what that means is when this is checked, you will only see students whose POA is that with your district will show. If you uncheck the box, this is going to show you all students that have been loaded for the district, regardless of the student's POA. So this option is more intended for situations where students are reported by two organizations. So you can see when we first got on this, this is automatically checked by default. If you wanted to uncheck it, again, you'd have to do that manually. The next one is show observation dates. You can, when you select this by checking this box, it's going to add an additional column. So it will show you when the teacher put in any information for the observations for the students. So you want to select your start and end date. You're going to select your location. So your location this is going to provide more for a specific building. If you select your district, this is going to provide all buildings under your district. So if you have multiple preschool buildings. And then region, this is more designed for data managers that have multiple districts they handle. And then they would, from here, select generate report. So from here, I've already done one. So we would just download that. And when you take a look at that, you will have, again, all 72 SKBs are entered. And you can see I checked that box where it's showing that observation date. So right next to the actual SKB, it'll have that observation date with the name of that SKB on it. So it will show you when that was done. So it goes all the way, all 72 you'll see entered. All right, so the next one I want to show is how to pull the data downloads report. So like I said earlier, this is more of a managerial that'll let you see all CSV files that were uploaded for teachers, for students, and enrollment. And it'll kind of let you compare that data that's in the KReady system to your student information to ensure your accuracy. So select that drop down, go all the way down to the bottom where it says data downloads. Select your download type. Now, one of the most helpful ones I find, and I'll show you why here in a second, is the enrollment file. We're going to select the data collection, and we're just going to go ahead and select the district here and request that report. Once that downloads, it is going to say export enrollments. And when you open this up, you're going to see the student information as well as the teacher information and what their data collection, what they're attached to. But the big thing I wanted to point out was these two columns. The active, whether the student is active or whether the student is attached POA-wise. So the point of authority, again, if a student does not have your point of authority, it's not going to, they're not going to show on your final report, your learning progression report, if, for your district. So let's say a student came in and transferred to your school. You trigger a transfer request by uploading the student. And let's say that it was just ignored, or, it was never confirmed, or maybe it was rejected. You at this point kind of want to reach out and double check that and make sure that if you are to have the point of authority, make sure these say yes. Make sure that students that are active does say yes. If the student says no on the active, again, that student will not show on your final report, which is that learning progression report. And this is that final one I want to go over, which is this is going to show the learning progression ratings that are required. So would be the 10 learning progressions for those students. So this is a report that is used for EMIS and for EAS. Now, this report is what you would submit, but again, this is not going to be available until after the window closes, which for the spring is going to be in mid-June or around June. So just be aware that, you'll get notification when that report is available. So, and that one, again, is going to be back where you see the drop down and you will see it listed the very first thing. And it does say in parentheses, which is very helpful. It says for EMIS, and it is for EMIS for EAS. And it's going to be the same thing again at this point. So you'll be doing that for the spring once that closes.
There are two major entities that are providing support around the ELA. Obviously, the Ohio Department of Education is the lead organization, and that's the place you want to go to for anything related to policy, guidelines, practice, those kinds of things, context, background about the assessments. The early learning site is a great location for you to get information there. If you just go to the Ohio Department of Education's website, we're here on the main page, and you click on topics and you just scroll down a little bit to early learning, and then you click early learning assessment, and there you'll find a wealth of information about the assessment, timelines, deadlines, information about training. Again, especially on the left-hand navigation, the quick links for data managers and for teachers. So again, we want to point this out so that you can point your folks to this location should they have questions and reach out to you. Ohio K-12 Help Desk support site. Here is the place to come for technical questions that you might have, access questions, anything related to support resources. We have those on our site for you. And I want to also point out the phone number, should you have questions or need additional support. You can reach us by phone at 844-K12-OHIO, which is 844-512-6446. You also can fill out a help desk support request ticket, and I'll show you how to do that because that's actually one of the best ways to get support. So if you're here and we go to Ohio K-12 Help, we'll load here. There we go. And once you're on the main page, if you click Ready for Kindergarten Online System Support, it's going to bring you to the main landing page. And we've kind of separated this out by role. So if you're a data manager, you're going to want to click here. And again, we have information kind of organized in the way that the window flows. You have information about how you get started, how you become a data manager in the system. We have information about training. We have information about managing the assessment. So once the window's opened, you've got the students loaded, teachers loaded in the system. What kinds of things do you need to do to manage the system? We've got that listed here. We also have information on the reports, those same reports that Carissa talked about. We have help files that kind of walk you through how to access that information again, along with videos and information to, again, support you during the window specific to ELA. And then if you need assistance beyond what's listed on our site, you can click Request Support and you can find your location. You can start typing a name, like my go-to is Ada. I always type that because it's quick. And then click Go, and then you can find the exact location and submit a ticket. So let's just click on Adams Elementary School. I click Submit Request, and then it gives me the opportunity to fill out a ticket. It's that simple. And then someone from our help desk team can, get more information about what your challenge is and be able to provide you a response, a more detailed response. So I wanted to share that with you and show you how to gain access and where those support files were. This is the timeline. As you know, we're doing the webinar today. The winter collection is going to close on the 14th, and then the spring collection will open on the 15th. The close down webinar is going to happen on May 3rd, and then the window for this spring collection will close on May 14th, with a cleanup period ending on May 21st. And as we mentioned, we'll notify you. A notification will go out when our progression reports are available. We do want to encourage you now to begin to download reports. So as Carissa showed you how to get in and access the area where you download reports, we want you to do so now, because that creates or generates an archive so that you can then go back and access those reports after the window has closed. If you don't download any reports, there's nothing to archive, there's nothing to access afterwards. And we do have folks that will submit tickets saying, I can't access my reports, I don't know where my reports are. And it's because they never downloaded any reports during the window, and they waited until the window closed to try to go in and download reports. So we're encouraging everyone, once you upload your teachers and upload your students, and then you put your enrollments in, go ahead and just download a report. Obviously there won't be data there, but you will start that process of archiving, and we encourage you to go in and create a cycle or a frequency for yourself of downloading those reports so that you have access to those data.
The document that is how to assign a unique ID for
Mm-hmm.
private programs that don't use public funding. That was one where that document lies for the naming convention. It is listed on our site as well. And then there was a question said, why would I use the all fields template for students versus the required fields? And the all fields template allows you to enter additional demographics such as IEP status, the English language learner identification, which is important to identify or for determining if the N rating for a non-scorable can be used. And it gives you, when it comes to using the data displays and kind of looking at it, just gives you a little more information when looking at your data. Because the winter learning assessment is optional. So that's not a reporting that is not used for reporting. The ones that are required are the spring and the fall.